Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this month's meeting with the Fixin San Mateo County Monthly All Hands Meeting. Thank you all for being here tonight and for your continued commitment to our mission. Your dedication is what drives our efforts to create positive changes here throughout the county. Tonight, I'm really excited about the program. I've learned early in my career, nothing's more valuable than experience. Tonight's guest speaker has experience building and leading an oversight organization, which is invaluable as we plan for our future and continue pushing forward. So again, thank you for attending. Please feel free to share your thoughts and ideas during the meeting, as your input is invaluable to our collective success. Let's all get started.
Thank you, Jim. And we always start with a partner spotlight with one of our supporting groups. And we are so pleased to have Fresh Lifelines for Youth, FLY, which works with kids in the local juvenile system and other kids. And we have Rose LaValle and Stacy Castro. However, Stacy can't turn her camera on because she's in school, so we won't be able to spotlight her. But Stacy is our new social media intern for Fixin San Mateo, and after they talk about FLY, we will share a little video that Stacy made.
Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. I apologize. I am on my iPad today, so apologize if I'm like not looking directly at the camera. But see, I'm just getting rid of it. We're just getting all of it started right now. But yes, thank you so much for the introduction, Nancy. Super excited to spotlight Fresh Lifelines for Youth, and really grateful for this opportunity. But before we get started, I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Rose, she, her pronouns. I'm the Youth Voice Policy Coach at Fresh Lifelines for Youth. I'm also a FLY alumni, and I'm system impacted, and I'll pass it to my co-facilitator.
Hi, my name is Stacy, pronoun she, her, ella. I am an alumni, and I'm a content creator intern with Fixin SMC.
Yeah, so we are super excited and grateful for this opportunity, like I said earlier, to talk a little bit about FLY. But just before we get into presentation, that will be really quick. I just wanted to start off and kind of talk about why FLY was founded. So FLY started because our founder, Krista Gannon, alongside her peers, basically saw a huge gap in the system, and more specifically, a gap between the system and the community that the system was supposed to be representing, right? So too many young people were being left behind by the justice system with little to no opportunity for a second chance, which I have experienced. But yeah, FLY was founded to give these youth a fresh start by focusing on restorative practices that are focused on strengthening relationships with the aim to recognize and repair the harm that is currently and has existed within communities.
We are in 4 Berea counties. The first one is Santa Clara County, second one, Alameda County, third one, San Mateo County, fourth one, recently expanded to Contra Costa County.
Awesome. So I think the first start of this presentation is to talk about like who we are. I don't have all the time in the world, but basically Fresh Lifelines for Youth, aka FLY, is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to breaking the cycle of violence, crime, and incarceration by offering mentorship, legal education, and leadership training to youth impacted by the justice system. And we'll talk a little bit about those categories some more in our next slide. But basically the mission at FLY is to partner with young people to unlock their potential, disrupt the pipeline to prison, and advance justice in California and beyond. And we envision a country where all children are valued and supported, and where they have meaningful opportunities to live healthy, free, and productive lives.
What makes FLY unique is our dedication to not just supporting youth, but uplifting them to take control of their future. FLY approach is centered around building trust, building strengths, and creating a community where young people can find their voices, their purpose, and path forward.
Yeah. So kind of speaking on that, like, how do we support young people to see a path forward? Now, there are many areas that like ways that we do that. But today I just wanted to kind of highlight some 4 brief categories, just given our time, but then also what I think is the most valuable for you guys to take away for today spotlight. So for the first one, it is legal education, right? FLY teaches youth and young people their legal rights and responsibilities through interactive workshops. Our second one is really about having young people having the opportunity to have one-on-one guidance and support from caring adults, whether that is a FLY staff member, a FLY volunteer, or just a FLY peer in the space. And the third one is leadership training. It's so important that we center youth voice and their experiences, but it's also important that we're uplifting young people to advocate for themselves and become leaders in their community. And fourth one is around advocacy. So we're actively working to reform the juvenile justice system for better outcomes for youth through policy reform. Before we move into our next slide, I just kind of wanted to highlight some of our programs that are happening right now in all of our counties that really fit into these categories of what we do. So I just want to highlight some of those quickly. So the first one is the reentry program that we have at FLY that is in all of our counties. I think this one is really speaking to the mentorship category that I have up here. And this program is really centered around supporting young people to reintegrate into society in positive ways through case management support. And the role of the case manager is to really advocate for the young person, for the support and resources that they need, especially because a lot of our young people who are coming through this program are coming through referrals through probation. Our second program that I'd like to highlight today is our Law and Leadership program. This is also a program that's in all of 4 of our our counties. And this is really falling in the legal education and leadership training brackets that I have up here. And this program is really centered around building critical consciousness for young people surrounding their rights while they're incarcerated and post-incarceration, and informing them about how those laws can impact them and their communities. And just lastly, another space at FLY, it's not really a program, it's more of a network that I'd like to highlight. And this really is falling in our advocacy bracket that I've highlighted. And this is a policy fellowship. This is a newer network for FLY. It's in its 2nd year. But basically, this is pulling around 3 to 4 FLY alumni to gather together and participate and lead our systems change work, where they engage in a number of initiatives at the local and state level. They also do a lot of advocacy for us internally when it comes to kind of talking to our FLY board and kind of talking about the positions we'll take on legislation.
At FLY, we support young people learning the skills they need to success. We focus on teaching them about the law, giving them mentors for support, and building them as leaders. We also work to make the juvenile justice system better, so all young people have a fair chance. We know how important it is. Elevate their experience through advocacy.
Yeah, and I really like the last thing that Stacey just said there of like how important it is to elevate their experiences, their perspectives and expertise as people who have entered the system. And I think that brings us really nicely into our next slide of like, why do we support oversight of the sheriff?
FLY supports oversight of the sheriff because we believe in accountability and transparency, particularly for youth impacted by criminal justice system. And independent oversight ensures that law enforcement is held to the highest standards, fostering trust between communities and those who are supposed to protect them.
I apologize for that little glitch, still getting used to it. But yeah, thank you so much, Stacey, for highlighting the importance of accountability, transparency. I think I don't speak for just myself. I think I speak for everyone here, why that's like super important for sheriff oversight. But I think especially as an organization that is really supplying and supporting young people on a direct service basis, we see firsthand how crucial it is for our young people to be treated fairly and with respect within the justice system. And unfortunately, that is not always the experiences that are being reported to us by young people. It is vital that our young people, feel like they can trust law enforcement within their communities. And, that's not happening. And kind of earlier, what I was mentioning of like why Fly was founded around that gap between the system and the communities that they're representing. So I know Fly is in total support of sheriff oversight, just based off that reason alone. Stacy actually attended a board of supervisors meeting in San Mateo County to advocate for sheriff oversight, which was her first public comment ever. But it's obviously very, very vital, and it's something that's really important to our young people that we work with. So that concludes our little spotlight venture here. Just wanted to pause and see if there are any questions, since I wasn't able to
we might need to defer the questions just for later because of our timing.
No worries.
And Stacy, we could show maybe your video. This is a
Yeah.
video Stacy created. Okay, let me see. I think it'll play. Do you see it?
Yeah.
No sound.
I apologize if there wasn't sound. There was when we tested it, but thank you, Stacy and Rose.
No problem.
And now we're going to move directly to our featured speaker. We're so honored to have Sharmaine Moseley here. Sharmaine has been the executive director of the LA County Sheriff Oversight Commission since last November. She has more than 2 decades of expertise leading civilian oversight of law enforcement boards and commissions, including almost 9 years reviewing policing in the city of San Diego. She played an influential role as the San Diego Police Department implemented changes such as ensuring that motorists must be told why they are stopped in a timely way, and modifying procedures regarding citizen complaints, officer shootings, and in-custody deaths. She began her career in civilian oversight of law enforcement in Albany, New York, and served for several years as a legislative assistant there in the New York State Assembly. She is an active member of the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, NACOL, and a certified practitioner of oversight. We met Ms. Moseley through the California Coalition for Sheriff Oversight, CCSO, which is a new statewide coalition that advocates and supports establishing, maintaining, and improving effective civilian oversight of county sheriff offices to bring accountability and transparency throughout California, which is authorized under AB 1185. And we are thrilled to have other members of CCSO here. We want all 58 counties to have effective independent oversight. Oversight bodies are responsible to their board of supervisors, to their community, and not the sheriff. They should have power to obtain information, to do investigations, review policies, and more. So thank you so much, Ms. Moseley, for joining us tonight. We are honored.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and good evening, everyone. Also, thank you to the Fly ladies, Rose and Stacy, for your continued support of oversight of sheriff's departments. Thank you so much for having me join this meeting as one of the panelists. And let me just first start by saying that civilian oversight of law enforcement is an evolving work in progress, which has a possibility of changing based on the national climate. If there's an officer-involved shooting or something that happens nationwide, that's when everybody moves and tries to push, to get change done. in that small window of opportunity. Oversight has been around for almost 80 years. I believe in the 1940s is when it began. So now let me just start talking about my thoughts on the commission from an outside lens last year. When I was looking at the Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission and what I thought it was, and then when I got here in November, what it actually was and what I'm still learning. So from the outside looking in, someone would think that the Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission, which was established back in 2016, was an oversight body that has investigatory powers, and they were able to get access to confidential information and, able to make policy recommendations and have unfettered access to whatever information that they need to be able to make those recommendations, right? So coming from the outside and doing this work for so long, my first question was, what is this, right? Because I'm expecting complaints to be in my office. I'm expecting a database. I knew that there was an OIG. I knew that there was an Inspector General that was in place. So I was thinking that the Inspector General's office was the investigatory arm of the commission, and that the Inspector General will conduct investigations over citizen complaints. And then the results of those investigations will be told to our commissioners in a closed meeting where they can deliberate. Well, that's not what's happening. As I previously mentioned, the Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission was created by the Board of Supervisors back in 2016 to improve public transparency and accountability of the Sheriff's Department, and also to provide opportunities for community engagement. In 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, and we've seen a lot of changes happen in 2020 after that traumatizing, I don't want to say incident, but traumatizing murder. Let me just put it that way, because that's what it was, right? During that time, the supervisors passed Measure R, which gave the commission independent subpoena power. And it also gave the commission the ability to use its staff for investigations. Subpoena power is still in the meet and confer process. It's been in there for a while. And also, the ordinance was not updated to reflect revisions from Measure R until several months ago, actually until July. And I think that's when the commission started, actually we started like several months prior trying to look at how we can make revisions to the current ordinance. And that included also including some of the language from Measure R into the ordinance. So that was done in July of this year. The commission consists of 9 volunteer commissioners. They are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors consists of 5 supervisors, and they each appoint 1 commissioner, and 4 seats are at-large community seats. So staffing of the commission consists of 9 full-time employees. We have a deputy ED, Bakila Ochoa. He's also attending tonight's meeting. We also have a community engagement coordinator who just started today. So we're happy and excited about that, because we want to be able to have a presence out in the community. We want to be able to meet one of the commission's strategic goals, which is to be, to have robust community engagement opportunities, and to be able to let everybody know what exactly is the work of the commission, and more importantly, how we're trying to restructure the commission in LA County. We also have staff analysts who support the work of the commission's ad hoc committees. And the commission's ad hoc committees, they focus on topics such as conditions of confinement, use of force, technology, deputy gangs, quality of life, and governance. The ad hoc committees, they make recommendations for the full commission to consider adopting, and then those recommendations are forwarded over to LASD. As you are all aware, a couple of years ago, the commission, actually it was last year, the commission made recommendations regarding the issue of deputy gangs. They made 27 recommendations. And we're still working on some of those. Actually, we're still working on a majority of those recommendations. At least 5 or 6 of them were already adopted. Most importantly, and I say this as far as thinking about the amount of time that the commission puts into meetings, they meet once a month in 4-hour meetings on a Thursday, the third Thursday of each month, and that's for commission business. Other commissions, like the one in San Diego, at one point they met once a week, 4 times a month, and then they also went into internal affairs for case review and to be able to look at the case files. When COVID happened, the other thing that they were able to do was they were able to access the confidential information in the Google Drive. That's something that Internal Affairs made it easier for the commission to be able to access that information because of the work of the commission. Here in LA County, our commissioners don't have that liberty. They can't do that. They can't access confidential information. Confidential information is not given to them. And as I mentioned before, the Inspector General is supposed to be the investigative arm of this commission when it comes to complaints filed by the community. And that's not what's happening. I think he mentioned something about a court order, but I think Measure R knew about that. So they put a clause they put language in Measure R that gave the commission the ability to conduct investigations through staff. The other thing that I realized based on my work doing this oversight for so long is that just because you have an implementation ordinance doesn't mean that automatically things happen, right? Because people think that, we vote for Measure R, it's going to happen by next week. No, it takes a while. And, you have to be able to develop those procedures in order to implement the ordinance. Like if there's investigations, you got to have an investigation procedure. If there is like ordering, the same thing, subpoena power, we will have to have procedures for subpoena power, right? So it's going to take a while, like even with the passage of Measure R, for this commission to have it, to live up to its full capability. And also we only have 9 volunteer commissioners. I know San Diego's commission, now they have 25, which is a large number. Before that, they had 23. That was still a large number. And so coming from Albany, New York, where I was able to manage a board of 9, and then now here in LA County, a commission of 9, it's just something to think about, like the work that's involved with being able to provide civilian oversight of law enforcement as a whole. It does take time, and these boards and commissions put a lot of time into what it is that they do, especially when it comes to making sure that complaints are investigated fairly and thoroughly. If complaints that are not investigated fairly and thoroughly is the issue. Sometimes somebody might make 5 or 6 allegations, and Internal Affairs might only investigate 1, or they might lump all of them into one investigation. And then sometimes the investigation might not be fair. It might not be thorough. So that's the work of civilian oversight. And unfortunately, we don't have that in LA County yet. That's something that we are trying to achieve with the restructure of our commission through proposed revisions of the ordinance. We don't have access to unfeathered information, confidential information. And we can't go into closed session to discuss the confidential information, even if we had it. So, I hear certain things like, well, we have to wait for county council, and, legally we're not able to do it legally. But I'm like, well, San Diego, they've been doing that for a long time. Like even before I got there, they had access to confidential information, right? And even if it's the city, they still had it, right? And then the county being able to access whatever information they have from the sheriff's department. I mean, there's other places that can still do it, and it's legal. And being able to go into closed session to talk about the confidential information. Obviously, if it's confidential, it has to be discussed in a closed session. And I don't understand, this is just me doing this work, why the terminology, because the commission is a Brown Act body, they can't go into closed session. So that's the other issue. And that's something that we're trying to work on with the proposed revisions to 3.79 of the chapter that established this commission. And then let me just say, as far as trying to restructure, we've had a lot of meetings. We've held meetings with county council, staff, members of the community, individuals, employees of the county. And it's trying to be strategic in how we can get these proposed necessary revisions made to 3.79. We are also hosting our annual conference. This is, I believe it's our 4th annual conference, and it's going to be on civilian oversight models in California. That's going to take place November 8th, I believe from 9 to 3. In that conference, we're going to have Cammie from NACO. She's going to be virtual and talk about civilian oversight of law enforcement 101. We'll also have a legal perspective panel for the attorneys to come and talk about why they can't and, how they can do certain things, because I'm always interested in the solutions, right? Civilian oversight is not new. This is something that's been around for a very, very long time. We can be creative. There's a lot of hybrids out there. We can take something from Sonoma. We can take other things from, other places and put it all together. And let's have, what LA County considers to be effective oversight. At that conference, we're also going to have a community panel. We'll have some individuals I'm thinking about from Sonoma County, hopefully San Francisco and other places, come and talk about what their model looks like, so that LA County can see that there are best practices out there for this county, and that LASD can follow to give us access to confidential information. So I think that we have a chance. I think that now that I came on board and, with fresh eyes and fresh perspectives, and because I also have the experience from, other oversight entities, to be able to know and to be able to identify how we can improve what it is that we're doing. So, one of the things that I did when I came on board was to go over and help the commission craft their strategic plan. And it has 3 goals, but the goals are filled with many objectives and many initiatives, right? One of the goals is to restructure the commission. And the 3rd goal is to build their community engagement and to build trust. We can't build trust if we don't have effective civilian oversight. Yes, the commission has done a great job as far as holding several special hearings to shine the light on deputy gangs within LASD. But it's taken so many special hearings, and the special hearings are costly to the county. And I'm not even going to talk about how much, right? But that's another topic. But, the commission has been spinning their wheels over these years because by holding special hearings. So we can't say that we are giving the members of the public transparency and we're holding deputies accountable, because that's not what's happening, right? We have several special hearings. We have our ad hoc committees that's been working hard and being able to look at policies and procedures and think about ways that we can improve it. But what's missing is the complaint process, right? We shouldn't have to receive complaints and give them to the OIG for the OIG to just turn around and give them to LASD, and we don't know what happens to those complaints. We need true oversight, and our oversight name is Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission. How do we have that name if there's no true oversight? So, coming from the outside, these are things that I've identified and have spoken with a lot of individuals as to how we can change things. Let's make ourselves a national model. We can fix things up and try to make sure that we have our complaint process too within our office, and hire investigators to also go ahead and conduct those investigations. And then that's how you build trust. That's how you build trust, because if we have members of the public coming and trying to voice their issues with LASD, and our commissioners don't really know how to help them because we don't have a process, we're only focusing on special hearings or each ad hoc committee is focusing on different things, but we're not focusing on the meat of the issue. So with that said, I know I've been speaking for a while, so I'm gonna end on this note that, you know, I keep telling myself, if there is a will, there is a way, right? If there is a will, there is a way. We just need to be able to identify and show that we can do things. And if somebody says that we can't, then we need to say, okay, you know what? Then, hey, give us a solution. Give us some options. If there is a way, a will, there is a way. Thank you.
I think now Trina's going to curate the questions in the chat.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of that information, Ms. Moseley. It's very, very helpful. We have a few questions in the chat and hoping that you can use your experience and tell us, you know, what some good solutions or how we look forward. One of the questions, we actually have this a couple of times. San Francisco Chronicle apparently recently ran a series about clean record agreements, which is where officers can leave their department after having been accused of wrongdoing with a clean record. They often continue to have their pensions. What do you think about those? And is this anything you think commissions can deal with?
Yes, and thank you so much for that question. That question is very, very important as we, you know, think about what happened to the young lady in her kitchen a couple of months ago, right?
Mhm.
And how that person moved from one department to the other. That's serious, right? In California, there is something called posts, which actually they're responsible for investigating or looking at law enforcement or officers or deputies that have misconduct, certain misconduct against them, right? That was terminated also, or that's, you know, that moved from one station to the other with misconduct, sustained findings. So California Post has been looking at that. And that's something that we've identified with our commission that staff is going to be following, because it's important that, you know, if you have a deputy or an officer that's engaged in misconduct, especially egregious misconduct, they should not get the chance to leave, collect a pension, and go to another department and just keep going around, right? And then taking that misbehavior with them. So that's my, you know, my take on it. I'm very supportive of what Post is doing. And that's something that has been a legal requirement. So thank you.
Okay. Another question is that you mentioned something about restructuring the commission. What would that look like to you?
So first of all, it's changing the name. I'm gonna start with changing the name of the commission from Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission. When I started working for the county, I noticed that staff was not putting Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission in their signature block. And I was like, so what happened to the sheriff portion of it? Why does it just say Civilian Oversight Commission? They were, and it's not even, I'm laughing now because I just remember, like, what is going on? Like, I felt like I was on prank at one point. Like, what is happening? Like, what's happening? So they said that it's because when people call and they want, you know, if they want to file a complaint or if they have a question, they hear Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission, even though there's not apostrophe S afterwards, they just be like, they get intimidated and they don't want to like talk anymore. And that's it, like, in the conversation. So the name has to be addressed. The name has to be changed. They could easily just remove sheriff if they wanted to and just say Civilian Oversight Commission and then put a description after everybody knows what the acronym is after a while, right? So I'm in agreement with that. And then also the commission needs access to confidential information. That's like the main thing. And the confidential information is investigations. It can be deputy involved shootings, which under 1421, that should be released to the public by now. Like 1421 became effective in 2018. And we are so far behind in the county with releasing those cases. I know in San Diego, we started back in 2018. As soon as that law became effective, we had to comb through so many hard copies, make sure we scanned everything. And we developed a procedure with SDPD to go ahead and redact whatever had to be redacted under the law and start rolling them out on a monthly basis. So that's what we were doing. We partnered up and we just started, they would let me know, okay, I'm gonna be releasing these certain amount of these cases. Do you have like the hard copy case reports? And I'll be like, oh, okay. And I'll redact whatever needs to be redacted and we'll roll them out. And it goes onto their website and onto the commission's website for San Diego. We're behind in LA County with that. So the commission right now, they don't have access to deputy involved shootings. They don't have access to complaints. So when people come to the meetings and they talk about these things, like they have to learn about also the policies, like be proactively learning about the policies. That should be a part of the commissioner's training. And that's what we're trying to do, is develop the training for them. But they should be aware of what those policies are, where to find them on the website. I tried looking on LASD's website and you really got to search for it. So it should be really, really visible and user-friendly. So if I'm looking for it, I should be able to find it, right? So that's one of the things, access to confidential information and being able to go into closed session. And there were like a lot of other things that we had regarding Measure R that we didn't know Measure R was actually added to the ordinance in July. We didn't know that until after the commission passed.
Okay.
That's the proposed revisions, even though we were working with county council. So we didn't. So those are some of the things, those are some of the main things that they're pushing for, because they know that we need to have effective oversight in order to build trust with the community.
Right. And speaking of the community, does the oversight, does your commission, is it known about by the community? And if it is, how did that happen? If it's not, what do you think needs to happen to bring the community into the fold?
I think that, there's two things. One is the commission meets in the morning, right? And I'm used to boards and commissions that are volunteers. They normally meet in the evenings so that you can allow for greater public participation. That's number one. People work in the daytime. So that's number one. And then also, like, after a certain amount of time, people realize that the commission is not going to do anything about my complaint. So that's the trust right there. To be able to get people to come back in, I just mentioned also that we have our new community engagement. Who's a community specialist? I don't know the name, but it's community engagement coordinator, right? So he's going to be focused on creating his strategic plan, which is virtual meetings, being able to get the word out. What does the commission do? How we're trying to restructure, what is needed, how we can actually have community members, because community members can help also. They can help, like, being able to get the word out there. And look at Philadelphia. Philadelphia has an excellent community engagement program.
Okay.
It's really robust, right?
Okay.
So I was like, you need to look at Philadelphia and, like, let's take notes. We need to be able to be out there. Let's put on our, I don't want to say uniform, but our jackets, our commission jackets, and go out there into the community and talk to people, because we can do that too. Once they know what we're doing and we try to talk about what is needed, we'll be able to, like, gain that support. I think that the community members that do come to our meetings now, even though they talk about things that, I've heard every month because it's the same community members. I think the commission is really hearing what's going on. And I'm like, we got to do something. Like, we don't look at complaints. So that's the problem. They don't have no other place to go. They can't go to OIG because the OIG is just going to give it to LASD.
Okay.
So
in San Mateo County right now, if somebody wants to make a complaint about the sheriff's department, they have to contact the sheriff's department. And it sounds like you all, in essence, have that same problem just through the OIG. So would you favor an independent complaint process? Do you think that's really a good way to get the community engaged? That could, the commission could take complaints from the community and you all could investigate them within the commission, not using the sheriff?
Yes, I mean, it can be both ways. I will always think that to be able to work collaboratively with the sheriff's department, you're able to affect greater change, right? Because I know, like, when I was in San Diego and also in Albany, New York, working collaboratively, that seems to work better because you can get more
Right.
than when it's adversarial, because I remember when it was adversarial and every recommendation we had was no. Right?
Okay.
So to be able to like work collaboratively, I think is important. It is a work in progress. It's really a work in progress. And we just have to be able to identify like how we can be able to move things forward. And then you have to be able to move strategically also. You have to know how to move strategically. And you can't put individuals on the defensive, like, oh, you're not doing this. Or, let's think of ways that we can work together, because that's how we're going to build trust.
Okay, very good. And so on the commission, are there particular metrics that you all look at that let you know that, yes, oversight is working or this area needs some more attention? What metrics do you all look at?
Let me just say this, because we don't have access to complaints.
Okay.
So because we don't have access to complaints, there is no metrics as far as the complaint process goes. But what we have is we have a strategic plan, and we have like, there are objectives that's on that strategic plan that's built in where we can be, okay, yes, we accomplished this. And yes, we accomplished that. Like, we're trying to engage the community. So how many virtual town halls are we going to have? How many in-person town halls are we going to have? Have we hit those goals? Because if we are not hitting goals that we put forward, then it might not be working. But then again, I can't say that, because as far as effective oversight, what does that mean? Does that mean like just going out into the community, and what are we telling the community members? What are we telling them to file the complaints with LASD, who they don't trust? And then on top of it, within the jails, they have a grievance process. Within the jail facilities, they have a grievance process. Now, I found this out a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And I laughed because, okay, we were like trying to figure out LASD's actual complaint process. They had a dashboard. So we had a joint meeting with the Probation Oversight Commission back in July. And, we had like a subject matter expert talking about LASD's complaint process and their findings. And some of their findings, which was troubling, was like, instead of using the terminology sustained, and this is why you have to be able to be on the inside sort of and understand how it is that they operate and how they move, because the dashboard itself showed it. I didn't see anything that said sustained or substantiated. I saw it said should have done better or could have done better.
Oh,
Now, with those findings, it doesn't tell me that somebody was disciplined. It doesn't tell me that there was misconduct. It tells me that there might have been misconduct, but the person should have known better or could have done better. That's what it tells me. So that's something that they're looking at, because that's one of the questions also that was raised, but they said they were looking at that, right? But they've been in existence for a long time. That terminology should never have been used. It should have been some, the legal terminology that's used, which is the same.
right. Okay. Okay. So you spoke about how the Brown Act prevents the commission from having closed sessions to talk about confidential information. Do you have any ideas about how that maybe can be resolved? Or do you
I think we
Go ahead.
already spoke about that with county council, and it's just crossing it out in the ordinance.
Oh,
It's just crossing it out in the ordinance
Okay.
because, the commission, they said it's a Brown Act body. And what I did was I reached out to outside counsel from City of San Diego. He's also outside counsel for the county's oversight board. And So I reached out to him as a subject matter expert, and he was able to like tell us, that's not factual, that's not true. So we'll just cross it out, and that's part of the proposal.
Okay. And does your commission have its own independent counsel, or do you all use county counsel?
We use county counsel, and it's costly. And let me just say this. Depending on where or who is the attorney for the commission, make sure you have a budget. Understand how that those attorneys are paid, because even though we have the county council's attorney, we were charged like $600 or something thousand for the services. And the commission had at least nine special hearings at one point. It's costly. Every time you use county counsel for their outside counsel, or to subpoena someone, or, if they attend our meetings and stuff, that it's like ching, ching, ching. And we never had a budget line item for it. So for several years, we've never had a budget line item for legal services for our commission. Can the commission actually, or these types of commissions, use outside counsel and be okay? Yes. People are afraid of it. Like sometimes the cities and the counties are afraid of it. But having worked in the city of San Diego with the outside counsel that was selected after RFP process, and looking at his experience and stuff, like if he gives a legal opinion and he gives legal advice, and sometimes the commission don't want to listen to it, I mean, they have that option. But also the city attorney, or most likely the county attorney, will give the same advice as legal advice. And if they disagree, they can both meet and figure it out, right? So it works. County, having independent outside counsel works.
Okay, it's good to know. And one final question. Talk about oversight in the jails. Is that something you all deal with as well? Or what are your thoughts about oversight in the jails?
So we have a civil brand commission, and I just, I started talking about the grievance form process, and I just got sidetracked. And I apologize, but we have a commission called the Civil Brand Commission, and they're responsible for going into the jails and conducting inspections of the jail, of the facilities and stuff, right? And talking to those individuals that are incarcerated and bringing back that information. Now, they don't have staff. So these are volunteers who actually go in there like twice a month, and they're able to like come back and report whatever issues that they see in there. But as far as oversight, and we have some of our staff go in also, but we have to like pretty much either go in with the OIG staff or make an appointment, and somebody will escort us around.
Okay.
But speaking about the grievance form process that they have, there's no oversight over that. I think the OIG sort of like gets information, but in their reports is like statistics. But our commission is not privy to information that the OIG has. So it's we have these oversight bodies, but we interact, but they don't, like, as far as the MOUs and things like that, it's not integrated, I guess. Let me just use that word, integrated.
Okay. And I misspoke. I actually have one more question. And that is, who do you all report to in the county, and do you all have a budget?
We do have a budget. I'm still working on that because it's not in reality. I'm used to having a budget where we can actually see what's happening like today. Okay, if I look at today's budget, I know what money we have in training. But we have a budget that they give us from months ago, so it's behind. I report to, let me see how to say this. Some of the commissioners think I report to the commission, but I report to the Board of Supervisors. I report to the EO's office. The EO reports to the Board of Supervisors. The commissioners are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. And also, like when it comes to my performance eval, it's the executive officer who actually does my performance eval, but he actually sends it over also to the commission chair. That needs to be like ironed out in the ordinance, in the proposed revised ordinance, because that's what San Diego did. It was outlined in there, like who does the ED report to in San Diego? Before 2020, I reported directly to the mayor's office. People didn't like that. They always thought, oh, she's in the pocket of the mayor. No, I was independent. I was neutral because I came from a law school that operated differently than any other oversight body. But then after 2020, when that board became a commission, I reported directly to the commission.
Okay, very good.
Everything was spelled out in the ordinance.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation, for answering all of these wonderful questions. And I know in California, different communities are in different places with trying to bring oversight to their cities and counties. And so knowing what people are going through and how they've done it and what's working and what needs a little more help is really, really helpful. So thank you. And I know we have different cities and counties on this call tonight. So I thank you, and Fixin San Mateo County thanks you very much for your time and your information and expertise.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Please feel free to reach out if y'all have any other questions. Nancy knows how to reach me.
Yes, and I know there's some information in the chat already about, there was something about the sheriff's transparency page, and people are putting things in the chat information so that it can be accessed by everyone. So that's wonderful.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. So now that we've had these wonderful presentations from Fly and also from Ms. Moseley regarding oversight, I'm sure everybody is all revved up and jazzed and wants to know how they can help participate in bringing oversight to their communities. And so we have a few things that you can do. And I want to share those with you. The first thing is, now normally our all hands meeting is the first Tuesday of every month. However, in November, the first Tuesday will be election day, and I am certain we will all be very, very busy on that day. So our meeting will instead be the following Tuesday on November 12th. And on November 12th at 7 p.m., we will have our speaker from San Bernardino County, Mary Valdemar, who also works with justice families, talking to us about oversight in their community, which will be wonderful. So again, that'll be Tuesday, November 12th at 7 p.m. And I know you'll be getting emails to remind you. Please make sure you sign up as soon as possible so we make sure we have enough Zoom space. And then from Fixin San Mateo County, we want to remind everybody to mark your calendars for Friday, December 6th at 6 p.m. We will be having our third annual holiday gathering at UUFRC in Redwood City. That's been our party place for the last 2 years, and we're just going to continue on. So here's a save the date for you, Friday, December 6th at 6 p.m. And then also from Fixin, we're going to launch a little fun in the form of a monthly happy hour. And this will just be for a couple of hours once a month, where those of us who are interested in oversight and what's happening in the community, in the county, can just get together and chat. It's very informal, no structure. And we're going to launch on November 19th, 4:30 to 6:30, and look for your emails for when we finalize the space. But we want to have it somewhere in San Mateo County that's easy for everybody to get to. And again, that'll be November 19th, 4:30 to 6:30, our monthly happy hour. And we look forward to seeing you all there and getting to see full-size people and not just, shoulders up. And then lastly, Fixin San Mateo County is an all-volunteer organization, from our board of directors to our group leads. to everybody who has just shown an interest and works with us at different events, at speaking at meetings. And so we invite you all to join us to volunteer. And there are many, many different ways you can volunteer. Two of the most important are either writing emails to the Board of Supervisors or the commission, or speaking by Zoom or in person at either board supervisor meetings or at the commission meetings, because we really want to let them know that this is a community issue that people are interested in, and we expect to have some movement on really having an independent oversight of our sheriff's department. And then I lied again, last thing. We are always, always accepting of donations. So please feel free to check out our website. You can donate monthly or you can give a one-time donation, and no donation is too small. And it is always, always appreciated. So thank you very much. And thank you all for attending. And I'll turn it over to Nancy.
Or to RJ for
Oh,
closing.
RJ, I'm sorry, RJ. Thank you.
All
His
right.
10 minutes has gone to 1 minute.
Yes.
I'm down to 1 minute. So just a real quick connection to what we call center. We center to be present, open, and connected. And I just want people to just take a breath up through their spine, connection to the earth, and to that above, whether that's the heavens, the sky, and feel that thread running through, and giving thanks to the support that we receive from both above and below in connection. And the next breath is with, breathing, extending your rib cage a little bit more and taking up a little bit more space than we normally would, just to expand ourselves into that space. And this is our social domain in which we extend gratitude to those that we are in this journey with. We give gratitude to Rose for the information she shared. We give gratitude to Sharmaine for the guidance that you offer and the appreciation of spending time with us, and sending gratitude out to those in need in our community. And the next breath is depth. And I want you to feel at your back that ancestral journey that has gotten us to where we are, that long journey that it took to get us here. And it wasn't easy, but we've got it from here with the support of all that around us. And the front of this depth is what we're longing for this change, longing for oversight, for a safe community, for feeling included throughout our community. And the last breath in this exercise is our organizing principle, that we are committed to making positive change in our community, that we are not stopping until we know that this mission is accomplished. So with that, I just want to thank you for your practice and for your participation this evening. And I want to reach out and give you all gratitude. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We will send out the recording and the chat and the transcript afterwards.
All right. Thank you, everybody. The meeting will be closing momentarily. Those of you who are fixers that were in the meeting planning, you have the run of show, and there is a link to a new Zoom for debriefing afterwards. So I will see you all over there. Good night.
Night.